On today's Locked On Angels, let's take a look at some prospects on the pitching side for the Angels that you should be looking out for in spring training 2022. That's right now on Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Locked On Angels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Steve Granado. You can follow me on Twitter at Steve Granado, Granado. And of course, our Locked On account is at Locked On Angels. As promised, so we have 5 pitching prospects I want you to look out for in 2022. That means spring training. That means minor leagues, obviously lockout stuff going on right now. But these are the guys that I want you to keep out for regardless of what happens in Major League Baseball in 2022. So let's go ahead and dive in. We have 2 here in this first segment. I'll take a look at 3 more in our second, and then we'll get you an update, just kind of generic news. I want to ask you guys about the lockout, ask you guys about Jose Mota, stuff like that. We're going to get to that here in just a second, but here are the 5 names I'm looking out for. In no particular order, these are all pitchers here for 2022. Let's start with one of the bigger ones and one of the bigger, I don't want to say question marks, but one of the guys that has pretty strong upside right now, Elvis Peguero. Right-handed pitcher. He got called up last year and was pitching on August 26th, 31st, and September 5th of last season with the Halos. Remember, Elvis Peguero was acquired from the Yankees in the Andrew Heaney deal with Jansen Junk. So we got a little taste of Elvis Peguero in 2021, but don't put stock into that. It was only 3 outings, so I wouldn't even begin to consider that as an actual sample size or actually what you have to anticipate. This is a guy that unfortunately will not be able to participate in spring training because he is on the 40-man roster right now. So he will not be able to pitch in minor league baseball if the lockout continues, which is a total bummer. So this first one is the only one of this list, by the way, that is in this situation. So again, 40-man roster cannot play in minor league baseball if the lockout continues. So that being said, he has been able to pitch throughout this offseason. Elvis Peguero has been pitching in the Dominican Winter League this offseason. He's made 15 relief appearances as of the recording of this episode. That spans 12 innings. He's walked 7 and struck out 13. So not super flashy numbers, but he has been able to work against some of the best and brightest, which is really great to see that he gets that opportunity to play some winter ball. In 2021, in the minors, man, he was bouncing around like crazy, right? He was in 2 different organizations. He played for 4 different teams. But even considering that, he had a 1.092 whip in 31 relief appearances. So you know me, I love that number. Whip is a big one for me. Walks and hits per innings pitched. How many guys are you allowing on base per inning? And anything close to 1 is just really, really good. So that's a very strong upside that you're seeing from Peguero already, 1.092. If you look at the Fangraphs numbers right now, they are projected subpar in 2022 at the MLB level. But this is definitely a guy that has a chance to break camp if he has a good spring, again, barring that we actually have spring and we have a regular season. But yeah, I think this is a guy that a lot of people are waiting on right now, right? And a guy that, we've talked a lot about maybe getting one more arm out of the bullpen for the Halos. If that doesn't necessarily happen, you might look to Elvis Peguero as a guy that might make the camp, might make it out of camp. So this is something that I'm interested in watching, and a guy that I think everyone should have on their radar for 2022. But remember, can't play in minor league ball this year if the lockout continues, which is a total bummer. And then the other guy I wanted to mention here at the top of the show, Zach Linginfelter, right-handed pitcher. He was a 9th rounder out of Tennessee in 2019. He absolutely crushed it this year at AA Rocket City, and he pitched well in the early part of the season at High A Tri-City. So High A and AA this past season for Zach Linginfelter. I'm taking this from Baseball America in May of 2021. This was written by Mike DiGiovanna. He said his 2-seam fastball, talking about Linginfelter, sits in the 95 mile an hour range and has touched 98. He throws his slider, which has the late breaking action of a cut fastball at around 88 miles an hour. Linginfelter had shown the most improvement with his 81 mile an hour curveball and shown progress with an 88 mile an hour changeup with split finger action. This is a quote coming from Buddy Carlisle, Angels minors pitching coordinator, said the metrics, the movement profile, the command of it have been pretty solid so far, so it's pretty exciting. I think it gives him another look, having something a little slower, talking, of course, about that changeup we were just talking about. So Some good stuff coming out of Zach Linginfelter out of 2021. Excited to see if he gets some opportunities in 2022. He also pitched in the Arizona Fall League this past fall for Glendale, and his numbers look pretty good. His whip was a little high, 1.54, but that was only 12 and a third innings across 10 games. That ERA was down at 2.19. So just a little over 12 innings, a little over just 10 games. So, that's the nature of Arizona Fall League, but to see that he's pitching in that regard, that's always really, really good. And this is a guy that's played in big environments. He has Cape Cod League experience, which is premier summer ball, and he has SEC experience with Tennessee, which is, as big as college baseball gets. So that could only benefit you in a potential big league career. And I'm excited to see what we get out of this guy. These are some of the guys that maybe necessarily aren't going to make everybody's list, but just guys that I really wanted to show you and make you aware of in 2022. This episode is brought to you by Built Bar. This is the time of year that I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right, thanks to Built Bar. Hey, by the way, have you tried those Built Bar Puffs yet? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of the best Built Bars they've ever made. The Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, marshmallowy, and they're not just a protein bar. They're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors: yummy cinnamony churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. They're all so good, and they're going to be your new favorite, I promise. Low calorie, high protein. Replace your candy bars with these. They're better than a typical candy bar, and those things can be like 200, 300 calories. Go to Built.com and scroll down to the macros chart. You'll be blown away that high protein, low cal, high fiber, and low carb. It's just good stuff, and it tastes good. At Built Bar, they're all about taste. They make it delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Back here on Locked On Angels, your first listen of the day. We have some more prospects to look out for. Just a quick reminder, it is Super Week, brought to you by Get Upside, and there's no better place to get coverage of the big game than Locked On NFL. That podcast, of course, you got Locked On Bengals, Locked On Rams. They're in LA already all week covering the big game, so definitely go check those out if you're a football fan. Okay, let's talk more about some pitching prospects that you should be looking out for. So let's go ahead and start with, in this segment, Ryan Smith, left-handed pitcher, 18th rounder from 2019, guy who went to Princeton. And just like Linginfelter that we just talked about a second ago, he has Cape Cod experience. Again, that's always good. You're always going to like to see that, guys that pitch with some of the best in college baseball. This dude jumped all the way through the minors last year. We were talked about that way earlier in the offseason, how tons of Angels, especially pitchers, just like kind of flew all over the place. And this is one of them, Ryan Smith. So he pitched at Inland Empire, Tri-City, Rocket City, and Salt Lake last year. He was everywhere. This dude's a power lefty. This is obviously not the most important thing to go off of, but with a running start, he just hit 104 last offseason, 104 miles an hour last offseason. So this dude's a power arm. If you take stock in that stuff, it's kind of show offy. That's kind of the point. But hey, I can't hit 104 running, so it means something. He's been mostly a starter since the summer of 2017 in college summer ball. He's 24 years old. 43 minor league games under his belt, and 23 of those have been starts. Obviously, if he makes the team out of spring, this is a fast track for this guy, right? Because, again, he pitched everywhere in 2021. But it's a guy you should keep your eye on. So this is not necessarily a guy I think that is going to be like, oh, my gosh, the next big thing right here, right now. But a guy that you should keep your eye on, see how he pitches in spring training. He's going to be at spring training for the minor league side anyway. So definitely keep your eye on Ryan Smith. He's getting not old, but he's mid-20s now. So it might be a guy that can get an opportunity at the big league level. Next guy I want to talk about, Connor Higgins, another left-handed pitcher. This guy was a 30th rounder out of Arizona State in 2018. He is now 25 years old. Come July, he will be 26. Higgins has pitched all in relief in his 90-game minor league career, and he split time last season at Rocket City and Salt Lake, but he was mostly with the Trash Pandas. He's not a guy that's numbers-wise blowing you away right now. but he's a guy that might be close to his debut here in 2022. So just like Ryan Smith, it's not a guy that I'm like, oh my gosh, he's the next big. He's coming up. But Connor Higgins is definitely a guy to watch for, see how he's progressed heading into 2022. You're always going to look for left-handed options. He's a guy that has pitched in relief his whole minor league career, so we already know that he's going to be a reliever once he gets to the bigs, but definitely a guy that I'm watching. So again, that's Ryan Smith, Connor Higgins, the two guys that I'm talking about right now. But you should probably keep your eye out for Connor Higgins to be with the Salt Lake Bees this year, because especially if we start the season without the 40-man, they're going to be those guys. So Connor Higgins is probably going to be a guy that starts at AAA Salt Lake, but close. Keep your eye out for Connor Higgins. And then the last one I would talk about is kind of a more different case than we've seen with the previous four that I've already talked about. Let's talk about Gerardo Reyes, the right-handed Mexican pitcher. This dude has been through the ringer, acquired from San Diego in the Jason Castro trade. Do you remember that trade? Yes. And he was also part of the Will Myers trade way back when. So this guy has kind of been around the block. He's already pitched in the bigs before, but he just underwent Tommy John and missed all of 2021. So this is a guy that is looking for a chance. He made his MLB debut back in 2019 with the Padres, and he pitched in 27 games. That was across 26 innings. So a guy that definitely has already a decent amount of major league experience. He's 28 years old, so getting a little bit older here at this point, but he's definitely looking for a bounce back season coming off of Tommy John. And he's already out in Tempe right now. He's been throwing pens. He's been working with the coaches. And this is all after signing a minors contract here with the Hatos. Let me remind you what Gerardo Reyes brings to the table. Upper 80s slider and a fastball that can get all the way up to triple digits. Of course, this is all numbers that came before Tommy John, so we're curious to see how it's going to react, how his elbow is going to react to Tommy John, and see how he's doing. But he's already throwing right now. He's out at Tempe Diablo and working out already, and he's already throwing bullpen, so that's really good. This is a guy that I'm excited for in 2022, a guy that's primed for a big comeback. And again, we're just kind of waiting to see how that body responds. How is it going to hold up? Are there going to be any setbacks? That kind of thing. But it's very promising that he has been out there this entire time already, all the way throughout fall, and has been there already here in the month of January and February. He's ready to go. He's a little bit more seasoned, and a guy that could be kind of like a dark horse for the Angels, right? Gerardo Reyes is not necessarily a guy that's on everybody's radar because he's kind of fell off because of Tommy John and the trade and all that kind of. He kind of got lost in the shuffle. But keep your eye out for Gerardo Reyes. If he has a really good spring training, then definitely look out for him. If he's a guy that is promising with good command, a guy that is still up in the high 90s, maybe touching triple digits, and that slider still has that movement, then like he is, a two-pitch pitcher right there that could totally make it to the show in 2022. I'm pretty excited about this guy. Let me know which ones you are most excited about. Again, recap, that's Gerardo Reyes, Connor Higgins, Ryan Smith, Zach Linginfelter, and of course Elvis Peguero. A couple of dark horse candidates, maybe not Peguero, but some guys that you should definitely be looking out for in spring training 2022. This episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before, with the big game coming up in less than a week. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just football. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute info on pro and college hoops, hockey, boxing, UFC, with live, real-time updates of current games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline, where the game starts. Back here on Locked On Angels, your first listen of the day. Steve Granado with you. Hopefully you liked that list that I just gave you here of guys to look out for in 2022. We have kind of touched on that a little bit already. We touched on that in the last episode on Monday. And something else we talked about on Monday is what I wanted to talk about here today is Jose Mota. So we dedicated a lot of Monday's show to Jose Mota leaving the Angels, his announcement that he's leaving the Angels after 20 years. And I made my peace with it, but right as we were uploading the episode, I had to stop it and start over because it came out that he is going to be joining the Dodgers broadcast team. This is coming from the OC Register. Quote, another veteran will be trading the Angels for the Dodgers. Longtime Angels broadcaster Jose Mota is expected to be one of the multiple additions to the Dodgers broadcast team for the 2022 season. Mota announced on his Instagram account earlier this week that he was leaving the Angels and Bally Sports West after 20 years without giving a hint at his next step in his career. So we now know that hint is Dodgers. No one commented on this. Jose Mota did not say anything about it. The Dodgers didn't say anything about it. Obviously, they're probably waiting for contracts and making sure that they're going to make one big announcement when they announce their new team and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure the lockout probably has something to do with what's the holdup as well. But yeah, I just wanted to gauge your feelings on this. I wanted to ask for your comments here on YouTube and, of course, tweeting me at Locked On Angels. I already got some people chiming in on our last episode, but I really wanted to take this time to see how you're all feeling now that you've been able to process this information in the last couple of days. It's a little weird. I personally am happy for Jose. If he gets a better deal, then, take your talents somewhere else. If you don't have to move very far, that's wonderful for him. But yeah, I'm just curious to see how Angels fans are reacting to this news. The other thing I wanted to ask you guys about is the lockout. How are you guys feeling about the lockout right now? Obviously, we're getting closer to spring training, right? Report dates are very, very close. Next week, they're supposed to be reporting. But I just want to see how you guys are feeling about it. Things have been a little tumultuous over the last week or so, and I wanted to gauge how you guys are handling it. Just the news with the mediator and the news with the lack of a proposal for Major League Baseball. And now the owners are meeting this week, and it's a bit of a mess. And honestly, I'm starting to get exhausted with it. I'm still, obviously 100% on the players' side, and I want them to be treated fairly and for fans to be able to get the best out of this situation. But it's getting tiring and it's getting annoying and it's getting frustrating because we're at the point now where games are seriously starting to get threatened and the loss of them is not so far out of sight. So how you feeling about the lockout? Let me know at Locked On Angels, or of course you can call me 714-409-6396. That's 714-409-6396. How you feeling about Jose Mota? How you feeling about the lockout? I always want to get you guys involved here on the conversation here on Locked On Angels, of course on our audio side and of course on our YouTube side. If you're on our YouTube side, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. We drop content like this 3 times a week here on Locked On Angels. And of course, if you're on our audio side, hit the auto downloads and come join us here on YouTube. We are so close to 1,000 subs. We are so close. Thank you guys for all the support. I want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. For your second, check out Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis from Lee Sterling. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us in today's episode of Locked On Angels. We'll talk to you on Friday with more Angels goodness. Until then, I'm Steve Granado. Later.